Okay, so this is April 1st, 2026, and goodness, I have an unpalatable, um, I guess, reality that I want to share about being and going through a period of impoverishment. And anyways, but let's just start with like recent events. So I it was last week, so it was the 27th of March. I completed the Random House manuscript, and I submitted it to Penguin Random House, to their editorial team, because they are during this time, they have exclusive submission requirements. So they've opened their doors to receive select literary works from different and various underrepresented um, traditional traditionally underrepresented writers and communities. And I'm part of the BIPOC, so the Black, Indigenous, people of color community, as well as I believe this fits, but being that I'm writing about and part of the impoverished community, I would assume that folks that are going through periods of impoverishment or are in a state of impoverishment would be underrepresented in the literary community, simply due to the reality that if you have, much like anything, like if you come from affluence, so if you have family members that have lots of money, they could say, if you want to be I don't know, a professional athlete, like they can pay for you to have access to the best coaches, and like they have the time and the resources to send you to different training camps, and to team you up with folks uh, that are that have a proven track record in the field of discipline that you want to go in. They can afford like all the different, especially like say hockey, for example. Like they can, it's a very expensive sport. They can afford the equipment, the registration fees. But also, say if you want to be a writer, and say hypothetically you had parents or a family member that is very affluent and has a lot of discretionary income, or disposable income. Yeah, you could always say to them, like, or ask them, like, hey, can I live here for a little bit? Or, could I get some support from you? And if you have finances coming in, then you can dedicate all your time to that pursuit, which is going to give you a major advantage. It'll be very, very helpful. And then it'll aid in your completion of the literary works. And then perhaps, like, you could even, you know, you have that free time to surround yourself with different editors and maybe other published authors, and then they can provide tutelage, and they can provide guidance, and it'll just make that transition and that pursuit that much easier. So anyway, so that's my guess. Anyways, I'm not fully sure, because I also see on the other side, if you go through hard times and you struggle, it's similar to working out. You won't build stronger muscles, and you won't build, a sense of confidence in your ability to be resilient, uh, without going through like battles of attrition. And and also too, it develops character, and it really weeds out who really wants it and who doesn't want it, who wants it more in theory or who wants it more because of the image that it brings with it, versus who is determined that this is their purpose and they're not going to allow any obstacle to prohibit them from reaching their goal. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but anyhow, so that was sent last week. I purposely sent it on the 27th. So it was a month after the first chapter was started, and I gotta be honest, I'm rather pleased with it. I don't read, in all honesty. Like I read the Bible, but I don't really read any other works, and this one has already like captured my attention. I've already read the first three chapters quite a few times, and the first few times I was reading it with the lens, or through the lens of an editor. So doing a revision and doing some technical writing. That kind of hinders me from actually enjoying it. It'd be similar to maybe like a food critic, where they're really trying to be critical on the flavors that are hitting their palate versus what they're expecting to hit their palate, versus that very same person just enjoying the same meal with their wife and their children, and just really savoring every bite, and the moment and the atmosphere. Anyhow, so this one is going to be, I don't call these negative. I know in the past I've been around different individuals, and I think I've been guilty of this as well. Like where I'd say, oh, I don't want to talk about negative things. I don't consider this negative. I think when you note things in society, in my mind, in my heart, and around me, the workplace, anywhere, that are issues or that are problems, I don't think it's negative to point them out and to talk about them and to discuss them, and to learn from them. I think that's the most. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think it's the most positive thing you can do, in as much as you derive the learning lesson and you heal from the potential attacks that come from it, but you're able to apply the learning lessons. You become like the change you desire to see. So, yeah. Anyways, so I began this video by saying I had something unpalatable that I want to talk about, and so without further ado, I will talk about it, and I'm going to try and keep this video under 10 minutes. So I just want to say, so going through this period of impoverishment, goodness, I am fully aware that there's many folks that I used to spend time with, or they would come to me and ask for prayer, and like they would oftentimes usually just talk about like different issues that were going on in their life, and they esteem me before as somebody that was able to give good counsel, and somebody that had a sound mind, and was in tune with what they believe. So like not living a life of hypocrisy where they say one thing and do the other, or they speak about things that they don't actually complete. And it's as I just mentioned, with that word, it's they esteemed me, and it was esteeming. It was wonderful. It was quite nice, and you feel very. It's a privilege, and it's also you feel very purposed. Like you feel like your relationship has substance. Like it's. I love seeing people better, do better in their lives, to strive to do better, to admit when they're wrong, humble themselves, admit when they're wrong, and then learn, from those mistakes, and mature and grow. And it just makes our society that much better. And it's a great example for the next generation. And there's just so many just wonderful, wonderful things. I could talk about this all day. But right now, I walk everywhere. So it's, it's probably starting to show that I am still in a season or a period of impoverishment. And I've noted, and I was just thinking about about something this morning, how there's many folks that used to esteem me as a friend or colleague that could give wise counsel, or that they could like talk to about different things. And I've noticed I'm now treated as more of a social pariah or a societal pariah or a leper, however you want to word it. I'm kind of dismissed quite a bit. And you can read it off people. And the way they used to interact with me before was they would glow when they'd see me, and they're so excited to talk with me and to pray with me and this and that. And now it's like I'm avoided, and oh goodness, oh, it hurts. It really does hurt. And I think this is like, as I was mentioning, I was taught at a young age that these were negative things to talk about. You don't talk about when you're hurt. You don't talk about when people do things that are negative. Those are negative things, and nothing positive comes from negativity. And then when I started thinking for myself, I realized, well, they're not negative at all. Like, these are realities that exist in the hearts of, in the minds of others, and potentially in my heart and my mind as well. And, and they have very, very, def- draining and defaming, results, and they can really hinder and jade your view on reality. Like, they can cause like a tint in the lens that you look at our society through. So like your perspective, they can add a hinge or a tint to it that jades you, and that causes you to believe that there's no good out there, or that, like it could impact your appraisal of your own self-worth. And also it can make you angry and embittered, and then also aggressive at that person, and think, well, that, instead of like seeing it for what it is and saying, ah, goodness, that's a very skewed thought process, or that's, a thought like that can reveal somebody who might unfortunately be lacking inside. So they ingratiate themselves to people that they hold in higher esteem, and then contrary, or on the opposite side of that, they become very dismissive to people that they don't hold in higher esteem. And then you realize, well, that's just somebody who's lacking inside. Like, they in their life, they're like their opinion of people acts very similar to somebody who's on a teeter-totter. Some people they lift up, and so they put themselves down in the presence of some people. Other people, they lift themselves up, and they put the other people, like, they look down their nose, they look down upon others. When the true reality, the truth of everything is, we're all people. So the good thing, the wise thing, is to be on that teeter totter, and for it to be even. So you're just looking eye to eye with the other person. So no matter who's sitting across from you, you always treat them the same way. You don't look up at them and then subordinate yourself, nor do you look down at somebody else and subordinate them, and you know, you know, make yourself feel or believe that you're more superior. So, but this is one of the best learning lessons that that I can teach, that I'd love to share, and it comes through the process of a season of impoverishment. When you're impoverished and you have next to nothing to offer other people, they seem to treat you in greater accordance and adherence to the lies and the hypocrisies, or the tint in their heart. And so you get to see them more for who they are, but you also get to see yourself for more for who you are. And so anyway, so the reason why this is important to share, and the reason why I find this to be rather timely, is it's wise to note that there is a high propensity, there is a high what's the word for it? Goodness. Virtually, it means like it's something that you could naturally step into, although it's not something that is beneficial, or even, in agreement with like the truth of the reality around us. And that is, when you're in this position Where you're in a state of perceived lack, like whether maybe you're at high school and you're just not popular, maybe you're at work and you're just you're undermined by your colleagues, and you're kind of dismissed and ignored by your supervisors, like you're overlooked for different promotions. This reveals like the intent of why you do what you do. And for me right now, going through this period of impoverishment, which is really difficult to get out of, um, and when people treat me like I'm maybe more inferior than what I used to be when I had the job that was in our society appraised as like a really good job, that must mean that I'm I don't know. I hold different levels of intelligence and select aptitudes or this or that. I'm still the same person. I just have less funds. I have less change in my pocket. But anyways, but if that becomes my identity, then that means I'm being ruled by the opinions of others, who are being ruled by like a societal norms that actually aren't in alignment with reality, and societal norms that like everybody, the people that utilize them would hate to be on the opposite side of them, the more defaming side of them. But anyways, but right now, so I finished that the Random House manuscript, and the one thing I've noted, and all the glory to God, is I don't use anything that I'm doing as as an external, oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank on this word, but what I mean is, like, I don't use anything that I'm doing to inflate myself and my self appraisal, or to inflate my self worth. Meaning, in the past, I used to desire to be an architect and a doctor and a writer. And when I started, like the introspection and going deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers, I got to the root of it, and I realized that I actually want to be those things, for various reasons, but one of the more intricate reasons was the societal appraisal of those things. I knew that if I was an architect is looked upon as somebody who's an architect, pardon me, is looked upon as somebody who's achieved a goal, or a position, or a field of work in our society that is looked upon as successful, and in a higher grade of success, or a more pure grade of success. Same thing with like a doctor or a writer. They were all like, they're all esteemed a little more highly in our society, as compared to other jobs that were held to lesser, or were esteemed to lesser degrees. And so anyway, the reality though is, if that's where my confidence comes from, and that's where my identity comes from, that means if those things are taken away from me, then all of a sudden I lack inside. So I find contentment is like true contentment occurs regardless of whether you have many things or whether you have absolutely nothing. True contentment occurs when people esteem you and they really like you, and they really treat you as if you have a lot of value to add to their lives, and also if they treat you as if you're a social pariah and you have no value to add to their lives. True contentment is ubiquitous. It's going to be present in every aspect of your life, because it's not predicated by goodness, there's a word I'm thinking of, like something lifting up and up and up, but there's like a pulley system that's lifting it up, meaning it's true contentment has nothing to do with anything external. It's a wholeness and a completeness that's internal. And yeah. So anyway, so um, I was just thinking about this this morning. I was thinking, oh, like I definitely don't want to trivialize like the writing. I enjoy writing, but I think the biggest thing is I feel purpose to write, and I feel purpose to like I feel this is nothing more than a platform and an avenue to help others, and it also involves like self exploration, which is wonderful. That's you need self exploration in order to attain growth and maturation. Um, but I've noted that. Um, the completion of this, like of that manuscript and other manuscripts, I'd rather just keep it quiet. And I'll tell like a few folks I actually brought some celebratory pizzas to work the other day, and I just mentioned like, hey, I completed a goal and a task. And but overall, I just rather like I'd like to talk about like I just like to talk about things like ideas. I like to talk about things that help people. I always want to talk about God. I always want to talk about the kingdom of God and the wonderful things that God's doing in this moment, the wonderful things that God's done in my heart, my life, the things He's purified from my heart, the way He's renewed my mind, the way He's changed me to such a degree where I am so happy to clean the toilets. I feel blessed to clean the toilets as I do to be, at the other end of any business. I'm just blessed to be a blessing to others. I get to comfort others with the comfort that God has given me, and it's so important for me. And also, there's so many needs out there that I am going to strive to increase my finances for no other reason than to help others. And this is wonderful. And I was just thinking about that young man in particular. And in the past, I would have taken it personally. Oh my goodness. How dare you? I would have been so angry. How dare you? How dare you think you can treat me like this and that? And now I just see it from a lens of maturation, from a lens of like, I used to be there too, and I was ruled by the things of our society. I was very greedy. Um, I was very image driven. Everything was about preserving the image that I had. So I spent all my time cleaning the outside while the inside was filthy and full of like crooked paths and unfulfilled or unfulfilled promises and discontents and this and that. And now, like when I think of it, I just see like, hey, like I always had a true love and relationship with you, regardless of, and I still do, regardless of how you treat me. That's within you, and that's what you're working through. That's your reality and your level of maturation at this moment in time. Unfortunately, the less mature we are, the more selfish we are, and the more selfish we are, the more we can utilize friendships as leverage to, so we don't feel alone. So we feel like we have purpose. So we feel like we've deputized people to like take up our cause, a multitude of things. Um, but I get it. I just want sincere relationships. And yeah, so that's what I want to talk about. And I just recently learned the word unpalatable, so that's this is a fun video for me to exercise that word of the day, we'll call it. And but that is a very unpalatable realization, and it really hurts. And I'm very thankful that I'm able just to face it and just see that it hurts and to see like the destructive force that can, I repeat, can occur if you allow these things into your heart. But if you see them for what they are, then you realize, okay, that doesn't define me. That doesn't define my value or my worth, but it does define the, like, I think of the word, is it fraction? Like when the light is shining and it goes through, we're say like a bead of water. I think it's is it fraction, like the light kind of divides, like it breaks to one way, it's no longer going in a straight line. That's the way I view this. It's like somebody seeing things from a perspective that or going through a lens that causes like that light that's supposed to be going straight to be fractured, and then it's broken and going in a couple of different directions. But once that thing is removed, the thing that called the fracture, then that light will be straight again, and that's what I desire to see. Like so that would be an example of like the paradigm that occurs after maturation is achieved, and that's what I'd love to see with this individual. And also like, hey, me walking around and like I might not have the finances that I had before. I might not have the job that is esteemed, um, you know, um, and socially appraised as I had before. But I'm actually a better version than I was before. I'm a more caring and loving and compassionate version than I was before. And goodness, like walking around all the time, this is quite nice. I don't want to be entitled, and going through impoverish or a season of impoverishment, it kind of strips me of any sense of entitlement. Walking all the time, I get lots of exercise. Um, Working a job um, that I might working a job that doesn't align with like where I desire to be in this moment. Like I desire serving people. I'd rather just volunteer in this job, but this actually reveals like am I going to go in and work as unto the Lord, regardless of who sees me, regardless of like what jobs or roles I'm doing? Or am I only going to go in and work as unto the Lord if I have like a job that, is has a higher appraisal rating to it, and that is seen by others and esteemed by others? Like what's my heart's truest intent? What is the core intent of my heart? And these are wonderful, wonderful teaching lessons, and I couldn't be more blessed to have this. So to walk in humility with God, and to care for the needs of those that are maybe of the poor standings in our society, it's actually a blessing, and it's a treasure to behold. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to share this, and I'm very thankful to share this, and very thankful to even have the faculty of mind to um to come to this like realization, and to have a heart that desires to share it in this moment. Okay, I think without further ado, this is supposed to be short. It's not. God bless you.